everybody. Good afternoon now. Welcome to the December 11th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. 2 weeks from today, it's Christmas Day. Providing our invocation today, walk now. Co-chair of the Youth and Education Committee, the 17-18 Rotarian of the Year, Paul Howard's Fellow +4, and yes, the best, one of the best darn presidents ever.
And a Vanderbilt Commodore fan. Divine source of inspiration and wisdom, we give you thanks for the boundless well of human creativity and the capacity for ideas to spark transformation. We honor the legacy of Charles Grawemeyer, who believed passionately in the power of thought to build a better world, and who established the Grawemeyer Awards to recognize and publicize such world-changing insights. We pray that the ideals of the Grawemeyer program may flourish. For creative spirit, may we always have the curiosity to seek new understanding in music, education, psychology, religion, and world order, celebrating beauty and inspiration in all forms. For global impact, inspire us to develop ideas that are not confined by borders, but which possess clarity and power to assist people everywhere in attaining wholeness, justice, and peace. For public scrutiny and dissemination, grant us the wisdom and humility to share our insights openly, that they may be tested, improved, and implemented to the benefit of society at large. For a just and peaceful world, direct our minds toward the challenges of our time, toward ending violence, fostering reconciliation, addressing inequality, and building a more just and well-ordered global community. May the winners of these awards, past and future, be empowered to accelerate the spread of their powerful ideas, bringing light and hope to the human journey in the spirit of ongoing learning and shared progress. Amen.
Thank you, Walt. Now to lead us in our pledge and four-way test is Joyce Seymour, the 1314 Lifetime Service Award honoree, Rotarian International Service Above Self Award recipient, and a Paul Harris Fellow +7.
Rotarians and guests, the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the four-way test. Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Joyce. Rotarians, if you have a guest today, please come on up and introduce yourself and the guest. And the guest, please stand while you're introduced. We are ready.
Good afternoon. I am David Graves, and my guest today is Mark Fogod, who is Director of Chaplaincy Services for the University of Louisville Health System.
Welcome.
Greetings, I'm Alex Novak, and the guest today, I say my guest, but he just happened to sit at my table, is Bill Quigg, who's moving to Louisville, and he's already a early member, I believe, in Phoenix, but we'll be moving here.
Welcome to Louisville. Welcome to our show. Henry, you have a bunch of kids. Oh, John's going to do some. Okay. Well, our two guests, one obviously knows all about Rotary, but you can certainly learn more about our club, where Deline is. I think Craig Sherman's going to be there after our meeting, and that'll be great. We have quite a few Rotarians in the spotlight to celebrate. Congratulations to corporate members, Goodwill, Kentucky, and Volunteers of America, Mid-States, on the investment of $250,000 each from J.P. Morgan Chase to strengthen Louisville's workforce and expand economic opportunity over the next 2 years. Congrats to Jean West on being invited to speak at the U.S. Embassy in Vietnam. Her topic was communicating with impact, lessons from American TV, and of course she took the opportunity to highlight our club. Congrats to D-Tran on being featured on a panel discussing how immigration policy changes are impacting the workforce and economic development at the recent Business First Opportunity Louisville event. Congrats to Rebecca Grignon-Recker and Karen Morrison, selected for the 2026 StoryFest Louisville cohort presented by the Tommy Elliott Fund for Community Leadership. Rotarian Graham Shelby is a founding board member and moderator of the event, which will be held April 19th or April 9th. Congratulations to Denise Sears on both celebrating 9 years at SOS and being featured as a guest on the Humanitarian Heartbeat podcast, where she shared her insights on building health equity and the human stories behind global aid. Congrats to Dr. Gregory Ross on being featured on the Live Inspired podcast with John O'Leary in an episode titled Leading with Love and Redefining What's Possible. Congrats to Letty Bailey Johnson on being featured as a speaker at the recent Dress for Success Louisville Bourbon Bags and Bling event. And congratulations to David Christopher Sr. and Amped on the ribbon cutting for the new 13,000 square foot hub for technology training, workforce development, entrepreneurship, and youth empowerment in Portland. Well, we want to express our gratitude to the University Club staff for providing a great experience for us each week. And at your tables, you'll see an envelope for cash or check donations, or you can scan the QR code on the envelope to contribute online. We'll present our gift at next week's meeting. The Battle of the Bells with the Kiwanis Club continues the next 2 Saturdays. Thank you to all who have been part of the impact of this long-standing tradition. If you cannot serve in person, scan the QR code on the screen or at your table to donate. I'm looking forward to it Saturday morning. The slate of new 26-27 officers and directors was approved and officially announced at our annual meeting last week. Thanks for everybody involved in that. That was nice. Thank you to President-elect Barbara Sexton Smith and the nominating committee for their excellent work on this, and all who voted. I'm really excited about the future of our club. And the proposed amendments to the Rotary Fund bylaws were also approved by member vote and announced at our meeting. Thank you to Kevin Lynch, John Bush, and the Rotary Fund Board, chaired by Lori Hudson Flannery, for their work on this important project. One of the changes was to add 3 at-large director positions. Fund at-large directors are proposed by the nominating committee and then approved by the board. Rather than going to the full membership for a vote, we'll be announcing the new directors for 26-27 in January. So more details, links, other events, and opportunities on our website, littlerotary.org. And if you haven't already, follow us online. Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and YouTube. If you joined or rejoined our club during the past 12 months, would you please stand? That's an even dozen. That's pretty impressive. Welcome. Hope we're treating you well and continue to treat you well. And hope if you're sitting next to someone who just stood, give them a special embrace and learn a little bit about them. We do have a few longer standing Rotarians, and I'd like to invite one of the best, Gene Seymour, who's been a member of our club since 1988. Come on up and tell all the newbies about you. Come on, Joyce.
Now he calls me Joyce. I think you've heard of the song, Getting to Know You, Getting to Know All About You. I'm not going to tell you everything about me, okay? First of all, I'm a native Louisvillian, born in the west end of Louisville. My parents were both factory workers who came off of farms in Brandenburg, Kentucky. Mother was one of 14 children, and my dad was one of 3. I learned a lot of things about service from my parents. One of the things was I went to all the schools that was available for me for elementary, middle school, and high school. My high school, to some of you who might remember, Aaron's Trade High School. And I was only one of 2 people out of a graduating class of 200 who decided to go on to college. I went to the University of Kentucky because it was a grad school. I couldn't stay home. It cost too much. It took me 3 jobs to get through the 4 years at UK. But I was happy to know I got my degree in education, came back to Louisville, taught in the old Louisville school system for 6 years. But every summer, I directed a Girl Scout camp. Someone came and said, Joyce, please come and work with us full time. And I said, no, I enjoy too much being with young people. I can guarantee you, you will be with lots of young people. So I did, and I spent 33 and a half years professionally with Kentucky and the Girl Scouts. We covered 64 counties, over 50,000 square miles, and I can tell you, I know every place in the state of Kentucky and southern Indiana, because we went up as far as Madison and Hanover. One of the things that I really enjoyed while I was directing camp was having counselors who, most of them were in educational fields. From 1965 on, we started having a reunion every 5 years. Finally, someone said, why don't we do something that we can leave for our girls? They said, can we establish an endowment fund in your name, Joyce? We set a goal of $250,000. We exceeded that. We went to a half. We exceeded that, and we finally hit the $1 million. The one thing is, it gives every girl an opportunity to have some type of outdoor experience, whether it's going on the Appalachian Trail, doing something during the summertime, but it has to be in the outdoors. And so it's been a great project. And the one thing I want to end with is Rotary. Ever since I've been in Rotary, I was the second woman in this club. It was not a pleasant experience. I tried to sit at a number of tables of men. They said it's full, but yet there would be chairs. It took a few months, but I finally started cracking. I started sitting early. I knew where the tables were that some would always sit every week. The one thing I do remember most of all is having a chance to chair a number of committees, and I'll end with that. I chaired the Youth Services Committee for a number of years. I did the Awards Committee chair. I've done so many wonderful things, but the most important thing is service. Thank you so much.
You're the best, Joyce. Thank you. I'd like to invite to the podium another best, Henry Heiser Jr., the chairman of Unistar LLC, the 2012-13 Lifetime Service Award honoree, the 2006-07 Rotarian of the Year, major donor, and one of the best darn presidents ever. To introduce today's speaker.
Greetings, everyone, and thanks, Ken. This is a very special occasion for me, I think, in this community. And I really appreciate Ashley Broner and her program committee for the invitation. The Grawemeyer Award program is unique in American and international education and brings worldwide attention to the University of Louisville, the Presbyterian Theological Seminary, and the entire community. It accentuates the importance of focusing on what a well-educated college student can be exposed to. Another issue is to consider the power of philanthropy and also the examination of legacy and one's personal passion. It's actually something I think a lot about personally because at my age and my color of hair, it's certainly worthwhile to think about. Charles Grawemeyer was a victim of the Depression. He had a desire to attend MIT, but that dream was crushed, and lucky for us, he went to the University of Louisville. In 1934, he graduated from the Speed School of Engineering with a chemical engineering degree. He had a deep interest in many things and continued to take classes at U of L even after he retired. Now, thanks to his being a brilliant investor, he created really substantial wealth. And 40 years ago, this week, he established this incredible program for 5 different endowments that our speaker will be speaking about at the University of Louisville and Presbyterian Theological Seminary. And at that time, it was the largest gift ever given to the University of Louisville. It was $9 million 40 years ago. And thanks to remarkable stewardship, it's now worth around $23 million. And you consider the $100,000 per person awards and all the expenses that go with the selection, intensive selection. That's really good stewardship. And during this time of his life, after the gift 40 years ago, he continued to direct the investments. Lucky for us, he did that because he was so successful. The Grawemeyer Award winners are being announced this week, or it's been planned for some time. But in April, April 13th, 2026, the week will be when all these wonderful, brilliant people come to Louisville. And John is going to introduce some of our guests today that are at the top of that pyramid that make this selection. But it's truly a village that it takes to do this, intensive to get to this winner. The winners. Our speaker today is Dr. John Ferré. And he's a native of Charlottesville, Virginia. His father was a student at the U of L Medical School. And he has a lot of degrees. His college was in North Carolina. He has a master's degree from Purdue in communications, another master's from the University of Chicago in divinity, and a PhD in communications from the University of Illinois. John joined the U of L faculty 40 years ago, in 1985, right at the time Mr. Grawemeyer gave this wonderful gift, and has been involved with the Grawemeyer Award for 30 years, primarily in the field of the decision on, in the Committee on Education. And this is his second year as the Executive Director of the Grawemeyer Award. So please join me in welcoming our speaker, Dr. John Ferré.
We'll start with video.
Why do we need to think big? The world is at an inflection point. Legacy ideas are not the solution we need right now.
The ideas that change the world or have an impact on people are interconnected.
We've got to come together and bring our collective imagination to make this world a better place.
The Grawemeyer Awards, all 5 of them, bring real distinction to the University of Louisville.
Charlie Grawemeyer was an engineer turned investor, and he wanted to give back to the world. He wanted to get back to U of L where he'd gone to school. What he did was kind of think outside his sphere. He wanted to recognize ideas that had world-changing potential. That's what he cared about.
Whether we're thinking about education or political science with world order, whether we're thinking about music, I think there's a core around what does it mean to be human, and I think there's a core around what are big ideas that can change the world.
This is an award that highlights ideas that are accessible to everybody.
It's one of the only awards I know in academics that actually has the finalists chosen by the general public.
So it's this very well-rounded concept where it's backed by the academics or the professionals, I guess, so to speak, and selected by the lay people. The works that are selected kind of appeal to both ends of those spectrums.
The value in having the Grawemeyer Award winners come to campus is we establish connections with faculty, but I think the major benefit is for students because they are being able to have personal contact with people who have done very good work.
My favorite always is to meet with students. There is just incredible trust that gets developed in that short time and really deep exchanges happen. These are the moments of shared humanity.
Universities are the place where a lot of that scholarship is developed. So I see us as connected by sharing a site of idea generation.
It's important to honor new ideas. Ideas have made tremendous impacts on how we have educated our population. Universities are really where the ideas of the Grawemeyer Award are going to flourish.
I feel like we've set a ship afloat here and it's going on its own steam now, and it seems like the community and the university have taken it over, and I'm as interested in watching it sail as I know you are.
Why wouldn't you honor the people who are coming up with some of the most important ideas of our generation or of our time or of this day? They are inspiring us to be our best. These are the people that we should recognize, and that's what Grawemeyer does.
Thank you. It is a delight to be here. I have to say, at some point I need the answer to a question that I've been wondering about ever since I was asked to come. I had to sign a contract that said I would do three things. Number one, I would agree to be recorded so this can go on into posterity for whatever reason that would be. The second was that I cannot go over 20 minutes. So I have, and I understand that. I've been going to church all my life, and 20 minutes is about all you can take. The third thing is that I had to promise not to use foul language. So, we can get into this later, but I'm very curious. You never have a rule unless there was a problem. And if that one is on YouTube, then we can all watch it. Oh, let's get to the important thing of today, and I will promise to keep this one clean. I think it's on. Oh, let me just, if I can get you, this is to the next screen. Okay. I want to give a little bit of a timeline of what happened. So in 1984, Charles Grawemeyer decided that he wanted to be the ultimate philanthropist for the University of Louisville. And so what he did was to give $9 million endowment. And the way he put it was that he wanted to be able to see the fruits of his labor rather than giving it in his will, which someone else would see and he wouldn't get to do it. So he was very involved from the very beginning. In fact, he was on the final committee, we'll get to that in a minute, but he was on the final committee that made the decisions for the Grawemeyer Awards. He didn't always win, which I think is really lovely, but he cared a lot about ideas, and he wanted the university to celebrate them. He had studied the Nobels. He really appreciated the Nobels. He wanted to have something that would parallel them. And if you recall, when the Nobels were started, there were 5 of them. There just happened to be 5 Grawemeyer Awards, so there was a nice parallel going there. He also looked at the Pulitzer Prizes, which were huge, still are, but they are primarily American. And what he wanted to do was have an award that was worldwide. And as you'll see from this year's winners, they're coming from around the globe. Okay. The first award, and still probably the biggest in some ways, is music composition, 1985. His daughters were a little concerned when he gave the money for music composition. And they said, you know, you probably are not going to like a lot of the compositions that you hear. And he said, that's okay. He was a big Tchaikovsky guy. Tchaikovsky never won the Grawemeyer, but he went with it, and some very interesting compositions from there. The second award is to parallel, in a sense, the Nobels, and that is the World Order, which was the first given in 1988. The difference in the World Order and the Nobels, in some ways, the Nobel Peace Prize is for basically an activist, someone who's been out there. I always think of someone like Martin Luther King, who not only had wonderful ideas, but he marched, he paid the ultimate price. He did an incredible job for social justice in this country. What Grawemeyer wanted to do was to celebrate the ideas, not necessarily the people, but the ideas behind them, the ideas that could lead to change that would make the world better. And the ideas may be from academics, many of them are, not necessarily people out in the streets, but people had ideas that were so fertile that if they could get heard, they could have that kind of, basically the 6-figure push and publicity, that maybe people would take them more seriously. The third one, Education, 1989, Education Award. Grawemeyer, as Henry mentioned, was a lifelong learner. Not only did he do his degree, he finished the speed school in '34, but he kept coming back. And he would sit in on physics classes, he would sit in on and participate in religion classes, he would go to political science classes. He wanted to continue to learn, so he wanted to celebrate education. 1990 was the Religion Award. This one is interesting to me, and I wish it wasn't being recorded. Because Charlie Grawemeyer was a member of my church. I am a member of Highland Presbyterian Church, very proudly so. Terrific church. Charlie Grawemeyer left that church, mad. And he left because it became too political. And I love that in some ways because I joined that church because it took a social stance. So it would be interesting. My paths never crossed in person with Charlie Grawemeyer, but it would be really interesting to have that conversation about a particular minister who I adored. At any rate, I'll give probably a few more examples. I will try not to favor the Religion Award, but I've been involved in the Religion Award since 1985. And it's, I think, a very important one. It is beautiful that it is done in conjunction with local Presbyterian Theological Seminary. The president at the time was Donald Swain. Donald Swain was a little unsure whether there should be any kind of formal religion study at a state-supported university. And thank goodness that the seminary, he was, again, a devout Presbyterian. He gets involved with the Presbyterian Seminary, and he was on their board. He does the Joint Religion Award, and that, of course, sealed the place for religion study at the University of Louisville, which I'm very pleased with. And finally, the last one is the Psychology Award. The Psychology Award, again, is for a major idea. A lot of these music compositions are always for a score. The other 3 awards are almost always for a book, not always, but usually. In psychology, it usually goes to someone with a generative idea. This year's winner, as I'll say, has written 750 scholarly articles, which is amazing output. So they usually become at the end of the career for the coaching books. This is the best find of the day. I wanted to quote a speech that Charlie Grawemeyer gave to this Rotary Club in 1989, and darn if I didn't find it, so here you go. And this is it. Why would a person, he was asked, and he wanted to explain this, why would a person who is an engineer and cares so much about electrical engineering, why would a person like that, chemical engineering, I'm sorry, why would a person like that care so much about the liberal arts? And this is what he said: our 20th century world has progressed so fast and so far in technical accomplishments that there now exists a vital need to learn how these tremendous achievements in technology can be put to the best use for man's total well-being. Excuse the sexism, but it was a person who graduated college in 1934. Here I felt was a spot for our liberal arts thinkers to catch up. And this program has been an effort to help in a small way in that catch-up effort. So what's the process? And I better speed up here. What's the process? There are, basically, probably should put the 5th one in because that has to do with why I need to rush out at the very end. The first is a nomination. People do not self-nominate, well, they sometimes do, but they try to self-nominate for the Grawemeyer Awards. When people see that there's a $100,000 prize out there, I got a call as soon as I took this position from a former fireman in New York City. And he says, I know how to solve war. I can create world peace. I said, I'm all ears. I can't tell you. I can't tell you because then you'll get the $100,000. And I said, well, have you written it anywhere? No, I have not. I said, well, you might want to think about it. And if you can write about it and get it. So at any rate, there are some people who try, God help them. Most of it comes from publishers, it comes from scholars, it comes from activists. There's all sorts of people out there, including some interesting ones. Oh, I had to say this. I'm trying not to go over my 20 minutes. My favorite one for the Religion Award was someone who sent in his favorite Bible verses. And the committee looked at it and like, do we give it to him or to God? So that was it. Anyway, this goes to an internal committee, and they're, depending on the award, some awards will get, say, 24 entries. Music usually gets over 200. So there's a wide range. The initial committee, which I was on for years, I used to call it the Riff Raff Committee because it was really mixed. You take your pile of books and you and the committee have to whittle that down to between 8 and 12, which is a lot to do in 2 or 3 months. And so when you do that, then that goes to an external committee, sometimes called the International Committee. These are scholars who are well known in the field. They get the 8 to 12, they have to whittle it down to 3, the 3 top awards. And that comes, and here's where I think Grawemeyer's genius was. That goes now to a local lay committee. And the lay committee, this is going to be, say, 4 people, 3, 4, 5 people from the community, along with me, along with the directors, who I'll introduce here at the very end. And we decide what idea is most important for the public to consider. Not only important, but accessible. And it's got to pass, it's not a nice way to say it, but the smell test of the public. It cannot be a purely academic book for a purely academic audience. These are great, I read them all the time. But this was supposed to be an idea that is accessible and world-changing. And that's what the Grawemeyer Awards do. Oh, the final one is the Board of Trustees have to approve it. The announcements were made last week, and right after this meeting, matter of fact, probably a couple minutes before the meeting ends, I'm going to run out so that I can present them to the board and hope they approve the ones that you're about to hear. Yeah, it's a funny way to go. Okay. This year's music composition winner is Lisa Lim, who is an Australian, wrote a piece called The Sutured World, which is really lovely. The image here, she takes different strands of music and weaves them together. Weave is probably not the right kind of glues them together, more or less. She's taking the Japanese idea of if you have a fractured pot, you put it together, but you don't hide the fracture. And in this world, we need that more than anything else, I think. Next slide, please. World Order, if you were listening to LPM this morning, you heard an interview with Joshua Busby from the University of Texas at Austin. And he's very concerned and has a fascinating idea about how countries deal with climate disasters. Some do very well, some do poorly, and he has a way of, he has basically 3 elements that can explain and predict who is likely to do or handle climate disasters well. This is obviously important in a world that climate disasters are on the increase. Education, this is a funny one. This is 2025, so why am I going back? This year there is not an education winner. The initial committee of them measured up to Grawemeyer standards. And they were a little bit nervous about that. And I thought, this is not great. I would much prefer to have a winner than not, but I never want to go down a notch. It always has to be the best. And every once in a while, one doesn't rise to that level, and it's okay. So there's not. So the last year winner was terrific. It wrote a book called Willful Defiance, and it's talking about grassroots movements that improve education for people in need. The Religion Award this year is fascinating. This is it's a book called God's Ghostwriters. And I'll read this part here. Enslaved scribes, secretaries, and copyists in ancient Roman society collaborated on the writing of the New Testament. She's got some very powerful evidence, and it's an interesting concept that the people who were kind of behind the scenes in writing certain New Testament texts probably had an influence on what was in those texts. I think this is going to be a fascinating discussion in various churches. Finally, psychology. This one sounds a little sexier than it is. Prenatal sex steroids the sex steroid theory of autism. And this one basically argues, for a long time they knew there were genetic dispositions towards autism, but they didn't realize or couldn't identify what else was causing that, what was interacting with the genes. And basically it's testosterone, and they've measured it. It's a very, very powerful study. This is a guy who is our only knighted award winner, because he was knighted for his very important work about autism and on behalf of the autistic community. Okay, people always ask, and I will hustle, I promise. People always ask, well, what do they do with the money? Someone just hands you $100,000, what are you going to do with it? I have got two anecdotes. I think it's a little bit gauche to ask people what they're going to do with the money. Oh, I'm going to pay for my kid's education or whatever the case is. But the very first music award winner was from Poland. This was during, before the Soviet Empire basically crashed. And he wanted young Soviet composers, or I'm sorry, Polish composers, to go outside Poland, see a broader world, so that they would write music that was much better informed. I have a copy of the book. I didn't bring it up here. Another winner who worked for the Australian government, didn't need the money, donated that to a research fund that then a subsequent Grawemeyer winner who was doing her dissertation, she wrote the dissertation using that money for support and ended up winning the Grawemeyer Award. So there's some wonderful pass it on opportunities for Grawemeyer winners. Impact on campus. When Grawemeyer winners come, and they will always come in April, there are at least 5 things that happen. One is they give public lectures, and the next and final slide are a list of the public lectures that everyone here and all of your friends and neighbors are invited to. Second, while they're on campus, they meet with students, they meet with faculty. These are some of the brightest, most kind of creative minds on earth, and they're interacting with us here at U of L, which I think is lovely. Third, they get research ideas. Last year's psychology winner, who was just a dynamic lecturer, he gave, people began doing research shaped by what he spoke about. Readings incorporated into syllabuses. On campus, there was a political science course, for instance, that had a whole entire course on Grawemeyer winners, world order winners. And finally, book clubs. I led a discussion about last year's winner, which was about disability and faith. And it was very, very powerful. Church groups and various book discussion groups do that. Final slide. These are the public lectures to which you are invited. And let me introduce 3 of the people who can tell you more about them after the meeting. Matt, if you would stand up, Matt Hurst. He is the director of the Music Composition Award, Tyler. Tyler Mayfield is the director of the Religion Award, and Chuck Ziegler is the director of World Order. Everyone is invited.
That was great. Very awesome. We have a commemorative pin for you, which has our 4-way test. Do you want to take a question or two?
Okay.
Feel free.
This was fascinating, and I'm a fan of the Grawemeyer Awards. My name is Larry Sloan, I'm a retired manufacturer's rep in the club. And my question is, as your endowment grows, which it seems to have done very well, are you going to just make the prizes bigger, or are you going to do something else with that money?
It's a ticklish question, but I'll answer that. The original prizes, the original music composition prize was for $150,000. In the 1990s, when President Shoemaker was our president and wanted to celebrate the university's 200th anniversary, he thought it would be a lovely idea to give $200,000, which didn't help the investments very much. After Shoemaker decided to go on to the University of Tennessee and other things that were in the news, it was reduced then to 100. It is building up. We don't have enough money yet to be able to give $150,000 awards. That's what I'm looking for or considering. But I can't do it without the money yet.
Hello, Neville Blakemore. 2 questions. I'm sorry if this first one you indicated in the presentation.
how are people nominated? Do they self-nominate, or are they nominated by somebody else? And then the second part, understanding, of course, that this is the most prestigious award in the entire world. Where does this rank, like compared to like the Nobel and McCarthy and all that kind of stuff? Like how does the Grawemeyer rank sort of all these kind of sort of, you know, thought-based awards?
Well, we're number one. A certain president hasn't been desiring the Grawemeyer yet, but you never know. There are no self-nominations. You are nominated by a colleague. You might be nominated, I know a lot of the religion awards, Oxford University Press likes to give its entire catalog, which we have to read. So there's all sorts of nomination, but it's got to be a second party or a third party nomination. It cannot be yourself.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
Sorry, we got to do our traditional photo before he scoots off.
All right, I'd like to invite to the podium Luke Schmidt and Denise Sears. Luke and Denise co-chair the Community Impact Committee and its West Louisville Housing Initiative Subcommittee, and they're going to provide a brief update on the status of the program.
Great. Thank you, President Ken, and we will be brief, and we're going to tag team this as we have done in the past. First of all, hopefully our slides will be up there. I wanted to talk a little bit about how the program got started and why we did it, and then Denise is going to give you an update on where the program stands right now. So first of all, the challenge when we started this about, 4 or 5 years ago, Louisville was going through a lot of changes, a lot of trauma. And our Community Impact Committee started looking into this and trying to figure out, was there something that we could do as a club that would help solve some of the problems that were coming out of West Louisville. So we did a whole lot of research. The committee got very, very involved. And one thing that we found was that housing was a central part of a lot of the issues that are impacting West Louisville even today. The challenge that we found was first the impact of redlining still existed in the historic neighborhoods of West Louisville. We found that 80% of the folks that live there are renters. And as such, the opportunities through home ownership and equity to build wealth were really limited. And then we found out also that rent payments were often twice and sometimes 3 times what a typical mortgage payment would be. And obviously nobody can get ahead when you're in a situation like that. Access to affordable capital was the real challenge for loans. And then obviously the real positive part is for homeownership, and something we all take for granted, is that homeownership has been proven to be positively. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, can you move the slide, please?
Do you have a clicker still up there?
I think he said it didn't work.
You're right.
You're right. Oh, there we go. All right, we're about to move off this one, but homeownership. All right, thank you. Okay, obviously homeownership has been proven to positively impact educational outcomes, generational wealth building, community safety, and all of which improve health outcomes. There we go. So we came up with a solution after all of this research, and we found that what we wanted to do was, first of all, improve home ownership opportunities in West Louisville. We wanted to create a program that would expand access to mortgage capital to first-time low and moderate income home buyers in the low and moderate income census tracts in West Louisville. And most importantly, establish a pool of funds that could be used to fund full affordable loans to purchase a home. So to do that, we came up with the result, and that was to fund an alternative underwriting program that uses expanded financial criteria to establish creditworthiness and provides capital for full 30-year mortgages. So my last slide will be, how does this work? And then Denise is going to tell you what we've done. So first of all, the Rotary Club of Louisville embarked on an extensive fundraising campaign. We approached government, we approached key businesses, we approached all of you, and we asked for donations through tax-deductible donations to underwrite the program, all of which passed through the Rotary Fund of Louisville, our 501c3 charity. And our long-term goal is to raise $5 million. Through a gift agreement, funds are transferred to the Rotary Club of Louisville's fiduciary partner, which is Park Community Credit Union, into a dedicated account. One of the things we decided early on was that we did not want Rotary to be a banker. That was not our background, not our business. We didn't want to get involved in the day-to-day administration of this, and we needed a fiduciary partner. Park Community Credit Union went through a competitive vetting process and really rose to the top. They've been an outstanding partner, and on top of that, for every dollar we raise, they match it by 20%, and so that's actually already added up quite a bit. Park administers the program. They originate, they service the loans to first-time home buyers in formerly redlined West Louisville neighborhoods, and then buyers make payments back into the dedicated account, which really creates a revolving fund which will sustain itself for years to come. Bottom line, this program will be here and up and running and thriving long after all of us are gone, which is really a pretty neat thing. Before I turn this over to Denise, I'm going to ask people, like I always do when I speak about this, if you participated in our fundraising program, if you would, please stand so we can recognize you, because you all have really made this a real important. Thank you. So now my partner in crime, Denise, who's done just a tremendous job on this project. Denise?
So before we get to some of the results, let me just review what the environment has been over the past 12 to 6 months. As you know, interest rates went through the roof right after we developed this amazing project. When we first announced it down at the news conference, there were 63 calls just that day. So the people that that were in need of this kind of project, they're there. But then the high rising interest rates kind of made the whole first-time home buyer market, it impacted it. So when we have higher interest rates, home prices jumped, resumption of college loan collections limited some cash flow. And just to give you an example, Park Community Credit Union closed only $2.8 million in mortgages in May 25 compared to $5.8 million in May 24. Now, what we are starting to see is the interest rates are coming down. And what Park Community has said is once they get to just below 6, that's when we're going to start seeing a resurgence, and that's when we will actually probably kick off a marketing campaign. So to date, we have raised $2.6 million. There are 7 families that have had the opportunity to purchase their first home. And there's another family out there looking right now. So far, we have loaned $719,500. We have available $987,000, and we've had no defaults and no foreclosures. So as I said, the rates are starting to come down. Park Community predicts once we get below 6%. And the trend in this has mirrored the trend in the entire real estate market. So, and then we'll resume our fundraising once the market picks up. This was a really interesting fact. The population, of course, that benefits is first-time home buyers in West Louisville. But based on the current makeup of the community there, The project also supports a larger percentage of women who head 49% of households compared to 8% male-led households in West Louisville. And this has been borne out by the applicants that we've seen in this program. And the average is 2.4 individuals per household. So we know that many of these women-led households include children under the age of 18 who have been beneficiaries of this program. Luke and I were actually at a meeting at Park Community when this woman called and conveyed this to the banker while we were sitting here. I called to let Mrs. Smith know that she has been approved for the Rotary Club loan. She had to end the call because she could not stop crying tears of joy. She later called me back just to ask me if this was real life. This program was instrumental in making her dream of owning a home a reality. And of course, many of you know Shantez, who was our first home buyer. And if that press conference, and you can find it online, WLKY, the tears that she shed, she had been trying to buy a home for years and had just never been able to get to the threshold, either because of debt to income or a credit score. And Park Community has been really brilliant in that if somebody has a low credit score, what they do is figure out why. Did they have a large medical debt? Did they have just one credit card? Did they were late on a payment? If you have one credit card, one late payment takes your scores, right? Who here has never paid a credit card late? Anybody? Raise your hand. Oh, Alex, thank you very much. Leave it to him. But the vast majority of us have, but we have so many other bases upon which where our credit is evaluated that one late payment, it doesn't have a tremendous impact. But when you have only one credit card, no car loan because you don't own a car, no college loan because you didn't go to college, well, it can be really devastating. So what they do is they take each applicant on the merits of that individual and investigate what are their circumstances. Do they have the cash to be able to service this mortgage? Do they have a history of being a responsible tenant? And we're not going to let one credit score stand in the way of them becoming a homeowner. So hang in there. This is long-term. Good things don't happen overnight. A lot of good things are happening. We're just catching our breath and waiting for the market to pick back up, which is already starting to happen. So I anticipate by next summer we'll be able to stand up and share some amazing stories with you. Thank you.
All of our committees do amazing work, but the Community Impact Committee certainly does. All we do is unite for good, right? Speaking of uniting for good, Barbara Sexton Smith.
Yes, sir. All right, fellow Rotarians and distinguished and honored guests and the fabulous Joyce Seymour in the back of the room. Another round of applause for Miss Joyce. All right, so I share with y'all every week that I get these scripts in the middle of the night. Well, Delene and President Ken, thank you all for sending it very early yesterday because it gave me more than 24 hours to get ready for this. Henry, it's normally like a paragraph or two paragraphs that I introduce next week's speaker. Well, there are two sentences. I think I can get it. So I'm going to take a little bit of point of privilege here. In honor of our speaker today, Lori, that talked about religion, and that's his background, and mentioned his church and so forth. Remember, it was something like the first shall be last and the last shall be first. George Grawemeyer, where are you? Where's George? Okay, everybody say hi, George. Okay, we all know George is our captain of the bell ringing, right? There's only one slot left on the sign-up board, he told me today. So if you're the last one to sign up, I don't know what you're first in line for, but anyway, you got it. Okay, here we go. Next week's speaker is going to be, now how am I going to connect her to what we heard today? Listen very carefully, I think I got it. Next week's speaker is Jess Lawrence. Now, how does a woman who's pedaled across America twice and has learned all kinds of amazing insights about living, and she attributes it to traveling slowly. Well, here's the connection to this week's speaker. See, Jess Lawrence has pedal to the pitch. Did y'all pick up on that? Don't you have to pitch, Henry, to win a Grawemeyer Award? Okay, or maybe it is a throwback to the baseball coach that was here. Maybe Jess pedaled to the pitcher on the mound, or I know what it is. You pedal to the pitch because you're on the roads across America, and isn't pitch a noun for something you use in paving the roads? Check it out. Scan the QR code. I'm not kidding or making it up. We'll see y'all next week. Same time, same station. Thanks.
All right, be careful this weekend. Stay warm. It's going to be a little chilly. We're adjourned.